Serious, what's a time where trusting your gut quite literally saved your life? A few years ago I had a rare day off work and decided to get some Christmas shopping done. It was late November and the mall near me was having some really good sales. But as I was driving there I started having this weird anxious feeling. Like the closer I got the more anxious and uneasy I felt. So instead of going right to the mall I stopped at Dunkin' Donuts for a drink and snack. I couldn't shake the anxiety so I sat in the parking lot for a bit while I ate and drank. I opened up the news on my phone and the first thing that pops up is a shooting at the mall I was headed to. Obviously I went straight home. Did all of my Christmas shopping online that year. One time I was hiking after a storm and my intuition told me to freeze. I listened and a large tree just fell down across the trail in front of me. Right where I would have been if I didn't stop. Not necessarily saved my life, but saved me from getting seriously hurt. I was a temp worker at a warehouse. Worst 9 months of my life. I wanted to die. One day, my boss who had no training on the forklift told me to climb up on a ladder and move something out of the way of the forklift. And my gut said, tell her to turn the forklift off first, so I did. She scoffed and said it was unnecessary so she got this other guy to do it because I was being difficult. Well, she moved the fork up and smashed his fingers against the ceiling, breaking every finger on his hand. Besides his thumb. The badass just went, ow, and was like, about time I retire anyways. Huh? He was like 70. Extreme pain went to her. Gangrenous appendicitis. Could have died. Thanks gut. I was driving home from a friend's house late one night. I was probably 16-17 years old and had a Mustang, so I was getting it down a back road when I heard this loud, slow down now, in my head. Louder than the music I had cranked up. I immediately slowed down to well below the speed limit, and when I came around the next turn there was a train coming across the unmarked tracks. There were warning signs about the tracks. I knew they were there as I had traveled that road many times. But there were no lights or cross arms and I had never seen a train on those tracks before. Add that to the fact that there are woods on either side of the road, so it would be almost impossible to know if a train was coming at night. Who knows, but a couple weeks into recovering from a fractured hip I noticed my calf foot turning red when standing up. A day or so later it felt like a minor muscle cramp in my calf and my foot maybe a little clammy. My mom said I was overthinking it. I knew something was wrong and went to the anyway, where I was diagnosed with a DVT, then 5 days later had a pulmonary embolism. Had I not gotten it checked out as quick as I did, the clot could have continued to grow, which would only increase its potential danger. Thankfully the clot was small and the damage minimal, all things considered. Finding a lump thinking it was a cyst turned out to be a cancerous tumor. Highest grade. Fast growing, aggressive, but lowest stage. 1A. Due to finding it early. Thankfully it didn't spread because of my quick thinking to get it checked straight away. If I left it a few weeks longer, I might not even be here today. I almost drove through a big patch of tall grass on my dirt bike just for fun. But at the last second hit the brakes and turned around. Didn't know why. Next time I went there, turns out there's a 75-foot cliff over a river right behind it that I would have just flew off at top speed. Because of the scenery, you couldn't tell at all looking head on to it. I still don't know what made me stop back then. I have bad endometriosis and couldn't have kids. We adopted and I decided to ask for a hysterectomy, tired of pain and periods. They found a cyst the size of a baby's head on my left ovary. Learned I had ovarian and uterine cancer. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was with a girlfriend at a club. Met some guys who said there was a party they were throwing. I was driving, so I figured it couldn't hurt to check it out. Get to a hotel room and it's just us two girls with at least 4 guys. I already felt something bad would happen, but decided to drink as much of their booze before bugging out. I remember quite vividly standing at the mini fridge and my friend was sitting on one of the 2 beds. She was holding 1 beer and talking about how drunk she was. OMG, I'm so drunk, and no sooner than she starts saying this, these guys started moving in on her like a group of hyenas going in for the kill. I immediately knew we had to GTFO. I just walked over to her and told her I needed to talk to her outside and grabbed her by the wrist and kept walking down the stairs from the hotel door. She fought me the entire time and I had to scream at her to get in the car. By the time the guys figured out we were leaving, they were at the door of their room throwing things at my car. I know I saved my friend from a gang rape and she didn't want to leave. She never thanked me. I was working in the sales office at an engineering company. I was asked to record the serial numbers off a stack of large steel plates on the shop floor. I had to get someone with crane operating experience to lift the top plate so I could read the one underneath. The guy lifted it about 6 feet into the air to give me room to see what was underneath. I was just about to lean underneath the plate when a little voice inside my head said, "Don't do that, mate. Get him to move the overhead plate to one side so that you're not having to lean underneath it." Just as I thought that, the clamp holding the overhead plate failed and it fell to the ground just in front of me. The plate weighed about a ton. If it had fallen on my head, I'd have been killed instantly. Trusting my instincts while driving has saved my life multiple times. Offshore fishing. Wanted to jump in to cool off but felt something off. Just then the shark fin surfaced, and a nice-sized great white circled the boat a couple times and disappeared. To be fair, I'd probably be fine, but I was done with the water for a day. When I was 16, I was asked out by a guy who gave me the creeps. I told him no repeatedly and eventually he began stalking me. I moved out of state for school and then found out he'd murdered 2 women who had rejected him. There was a mass shooting at my university in February. When we were notified, we were in an unlockable classroom inside of a public building. So everyone just ran. I was going to go to my car and go home, but I went with my friend instead because she had illegally parked right by the building and it was closer. I found out after we got to her apartment that the shooting was happening right by where I parked while we were running away. Not my life but my brother's. When I was little, our family went to the local swimming hole and we were unpacking. I was facing the tables while my little brother was by the edge, and he fell in. He was about 2, so was very good at swimming. I had feeling to turn around at that moment and saw my brother fall into the swimming hole. I yelled for my parents and my dad dived and managed to save him. A couple of years later, we were at the river and I saw a little girl stand on a large rock in the river and I had a feeling to jump into the river and I did. She slipped and started to go downstream and couldn't get up. But because I jumped in when I did, I managed to save her. Appendicitis. I diagnosed it myself even though the doctor initially thought it was nothing. My gut was very clear about it. I was walking to a place where I was planning to submit a job application. I was in my first year of college. At the time, I came across 3 men. 2 were obviously co-workers or friends. The other was separate. To my right, where the 2 were presumably working, there was undeveloped field. I was on a street with no sidewalk, and I was following directions from a Bing map. For reference, I was an 18-year-old girl. The following occurred. Me. Do any of you guys know where 700 Moore Street is? Lone guy. No, I don't. Group Guy 1, no. Sorry. Group Guy 2, no. I don't. Sorry. LG. You're not from around here. Huh? Me. No. I live in the dorms. LG. Yeah. But you don't really know anyone here. Right? Me. I know plenty of people. LG. Well, if you get in my truck, I'll take you there. Me. No. I'm good. I then walked off into the field where construction was happening. Because he wouldn't have been able to follow me, given everything in the area. It was Texas. So the probability that there were rattlesnakes was high. But the probability that this guy wanted to make me the latest installation in his cadaver doll museum felt higher. I don't think those two guys would have done anything if he'd tried to force me in his truck. But their presence was probably a big deterrent. I don't know for a fact that listening to my gut saved my life. But it feels pretty likely. Was at a rehab. Nurse was dispensing medication for tapering down. I noticed my meds look different. Asked her to show me the bottles that they came out of. Turns out it was a guy with the same first name and medication. But the doses and amount of pills was quite different. Doubt it would have killed me. But ya never know. I wasn't going to find out. This happened when I was a teenager and first learning how to drive, but still creeps me out to think about. I was at an intersection where a lot of accidents happen. It is poorly timed and people try to run the yellow light a lot. For some reason, one day, even though the light turned green, I hesitated for just a bit longer than normal before proceeding into the intersection. Sure enough, about 3 seconds later, someone going way over the speed limit ran the red light for the intersection. I'm almost positive I would have been killed instantly due to being T-boned super hard, as their timing would have been right on target to have collided head-on with my driver's side door, in a small sedan, no less.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.